Hey everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into the lives of 5 incredible women from the Bible who completely shattered the expectations of their time. These aren't just stories from long ago, they're powerful lessons in courage, faith, and leadership that are just as relevant today. So, grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's get inspired. First up, let's talk about a true powerhouse, Deborah. We find her story in the book of Judges, chapter 4. In a society where men held nearly all positions of power, Deborah was a prophetess and the judge of Israel. That's like being the president and the Supreme Court all rolled into one. The Israelites would come to her for wisdom and to settle their disputes. But she wasn't just a wise leader sitting under a palm tree. When the commander of the Canaanite army, Sisera, was oppressing Israel with his 900 iron chariots, God gave Deborah a message. She called for Barak, the Israelite military leader, and told him, "The Lord, the God of Israel, commands you. Go, take with you 10,000 men of Naphtali and Zebulun, and lead them up to Mount Tabor. I will lead Sisera, the commander of Jabin's army, with his chariots and his troops to the Kishon River, and give him into your hands." Barak was hesitant, even saying he'd only go if she went with him. So, what did Deborah do? She went. She rode into battle, not as a bystander, but as a symbol of God's presence and power. She was bold, she was brilliant, and she led Israel to a massive victory. Deborah shows us that true leadership isn't about gender. It's about answering God's call with courage and conviction. Next, we have a story of glamour, danger, and incredible bravery. Let's talk about Esther. Her story is a real-life thriller. Esther was a young Jewish woman living in Persia who, through a series of unbelievable events, became queen. But her fairy tale life takes a dark turn when a wicked official named Haman plots to annihilate all the Jewish people in the kingdom. Esther's cousin, Mordecai, finds out about the plot and sends her a desperate message, urging her to go to the king and plead for her people. But here's the catch. Approaching the king without being summoned was punishable by death, even for the queen. Esther was terrified, and who could blame her? But Mordecai's words hit her hard. Who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? Those words changed everything. Esther made a decision that would seal her legacy forever. She sent a message back, which we find in Esther chapter 4, verse 16. "Go, gather together all the Jews who are in Susa, and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my attendants will fast as you do. When this is done, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish." Can you feel the weight of that? If I perish, I perish. She was willing to sacrifice her own life to save her people. Her courage paid off. The king listened. Haman's plot was exposed, and the Jewish people were saved. Esther teaches us that sometimes we are placed in positions of influence for a reason, and we must be brave enough to use that influence for good, no matter the personal cost. Now, let's shift from the royal palace to the dusty roads of Moab. Here we meet Ruth, a woman whose story is a beautiful testament to loyalty and faithfulness. Ruth wasn't an Israelite, she was a Moabite. She married an Israelite man, but tragically, her husband, her brother-in-law, and her father-in-law all passed away, leaving her and her mother-in-law, Naomi, as widows in a foreign land. Naomi, heartbroken and destitute, decided to return to her homeland of Bethlehem and urged Ruth to go back to her own family. It was the sensible thing to do, but Ruth's response is one of the most moving declarations of loyalty in the entire Bible. In Ruth chapter 1, verse 16, she tells Naomi, "Don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God." She chose to stick with Naomi, leaving behind everything she knew to venture into a future filled with uncertainty. She chose faithfulness over familiarity, love over logic. And what happened? God honored her extraordinary loyalty. She found work, she found favor, she found a new husband in a kind man named Boaz, and she became the great-grandmother of King David, placing her directly in the lineage of Jesus. Ruth's story reminds us that faithfulness, even in the small, unseen moments, can lead to blessings we could never imagine. From an ordinary woman's extraordinary loyalty, we now turn to a young woman who received the most extraordinary calling in history, Mary, the mother of Jesus. When we meet Mary in the book of Luke, she's a young, humble girl, probably a teenager, engaged to be married to a carpenter named Joseph. Her life was simple and predictable until the angel Gabriel appeared to her with a message that would change the world forever. He told her she would conceive and give birth to a son, and she was to call him Jesus. He would be the Son of the Most High. Now, put yourself in her shoes for a second. This was a shocking, confusing, and frankly dangerous announcement. In her culture, being pregnant before marriage could lead to public disgrace or even death. It would upend her entire life, her engagement, her reputation. She had every reason to be afraid, to question, to say no. But after asking a simple, clarifying question, her response was one of pure faith and surrender. In Luke chapter 1, verse 38, she says, "I am the Lord's servant. May your word to me be fulfilled." Just think about that. No arguing, no bargaining, just complete and total acceptance of God's will for her life, no matter how daunting it seemed. Mary's humble obedience and profound faith show us that God doesn't always call the equipped. He equips the called. Her yes to God echoed through eternity, and it's a powerful reminder for us to trust God's plan, even when we don't understand it. Finally, we come to a woman who was given one of the greatest privileges in all of history, Mary Magdalene. For a long time, Mary Magdalene has been misunderstood, but the Bible paints a clear picture of her as a devoted and loyal follower of Jesus. He had healed her from 7 demons, and from that moment on, she was a steadfast part of his ministry, supporting him all the way to the cross. When nearly all the male disciples had fled in fear, Mary Magdalene was there at the foot of the cross, watching in agony as Jesus died. She was there to see him buried, and on the 3rd day she was the first one back at the tomb, while it was still dark, to anoint his body. But she found the tomb empty. In her grief and confusion, she encounters a man she thinks is the gardener, begging him to tell her where they've taken Jesus' body. And then the man says one word, Mary. We read in John chapter 20 that she instantly recognized his voice and cried out, Rabboni, which means teacher. In that moment, Mary Magdalene became the very first person to see the resurrected Christ. Jesus then gave her a crucial mission. Go and tell my brothers. She became the first evangelist, the apostle to the apostles, running to share the best news the world has ever heard. I have seen the Lord. Mary Magdalene's story is a beautiful picture of redemption. It shows that your past doesn't define you, and that God often chooses the most unlikely people to be the bearers of His most important messages. So there you have it. Deborah, Esther, Ruth, Mary, the mother of Jesus, and Mary Magdalene. A judge, a queen, a refugee, a young girl, and a redeemed woman. 5 individuals from completely different walks of life who all had one thing in common: a courageous faith that defied the expectations of their world and changed history forever. They prove that when you put your trust in God, there's no limit to what you can do. Their stories aren't just for women. They're for anyone who has ever felt overlooked, underestimated, or afraid. They are a powerful reminder that courage and faith go hand in hand. I'd love to know which of these women inspires you the most and why. Is it Deborah's leadership, Esther's bravery, Ruth's loyalty, Mary's faith, or Mary Magdalene's devotion? Let me know in the comments below. I really enjoy reading your thoughts and learning from your perspectives. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. It really helps. Until next time, stay courageous and full of faith. Bye for now.